Howdy folks, welcome to Sketchy Conversations with John and Ellison IV. On today's show, we have multi-instrumentalist Ori Soaring. I've known Ori since she was playing sax in Go-Go Symphony. Yes folks, it's exactly what it sounds like, a mix between symphonic music and go-go. We talk about her experiences in the DC music scene, her musical roots, and other topics. We take it a bit street level, so if you're offended by language, okay. So, how's it looking in Houston?
Houston's Houston, man. It's not my favorite city, but it gets the job done. So
Hey, how'd you end up out there, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah, sure. Went out here just I thought the pace of DC was too intense for me. Not I won't say too intense. I'll say that I wanted a less intense space. So you know me as a musician, but I was also in the marketing industry, and so it was for 2 years. I maybe slept 5 hours, 6 hours a night,
Jeez.
maybe. Yeah, and I was just like running because I was making both dreams come true. And hey, 20s, like you're in your 20s, let's do it. And so yeah, you can do it. And
How'd you grow up though? You from, so where are you from?
I grew up mostly a military kid.
Oh, okay.
So we moved around a lot, basically like once a year. So one of the things that I learned at any school I went to was music was a way to instantly get you a crew. Although I never really had a crew, I've always had just like one or two friends like in each stage of life because that's really all I can keep up with all this, other stuff I do. But yeah, so I would, let's say I lived in Alaska for a bit and then we moved to Tennessee. You get there and you're like looking around like, all right, who's friendly? Oh no, these kids here like Red Hot Chili Peppers. Okay, cool. And so we moved to Atlanta and okay, let's outcast hip hop. All right, cool. So it's just like in looking for community and looking to find friends and people to kick it with, music has always been that I don't know, that thing that's sort of the olive branch. And I'm the eldest of many and picked up a horn when I was 13. But do you remember Magellan's Castle by chance?
Yes, I do.
Eureka's Castle. Eureka's Castle.
You're right.
Magellan was the.
Magellan's the character was. Talk about Mandela effect because you were like thoroughly convinced to call Magellan's cat where it's Rika's castle. You're right,
Yeah, I
it
feel bad.
was. Luther Vandross was on there one time, right?
What? No, I don't remember that.
That was a weird episode. It was like a special, actually.
I do not remember that. I need to look. I wish I could look it up. A lot of the stuff from Nickelodeon from that time, they didn't get clearances, so you can't really get box sets.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like Jim Henson didn't give a shit
No,
about. He's like, just put the Star Wars in there. Like, should we get like clearance? Like, fuck it, it's Kermit,
yeah,
baby Kermit.
exactly.
So, so I was watching that, and Magellan played sax, and I was a kid, like little bitty, and I was like, "What's that?" And I asked my mom, like, "What?" I have to refer to her to all my world questions. I'm like, "What is this?" She's saxophone. I'm like, "Well, can I get one of those?" Like, look what he's doing. He's killing it. And she was like, "You can get one like when you get to middle school." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Middle school starts 7th grade. Mom, can I get my saxophone? She's like, "You remember that?" I haven't stopped thinking about it. And so we go up there and she's talking to the teacher and she's like, she wants to play saxophone. And the teacher's like, "We start them off on clarinet." She's like, "Nah, she doesn't want to start on clarinet though. She wants to play saxophone." And then they tried to give me an alto. Like I whispered at her, I'm like, "There's a bigger one." She's like, my mom was like, "There's a bigger saxophone." Like the tenor, but she's only 5'2". Like, yeah, she wants the tenor. So sort of give you an idea of how I grew up. A lot of the shit that I am into and have been into has just been sort of just me. And it's kind of weird because it's like, it's funny how I came upon a lot of the things I like because I'd be the only person around who fucked with it,
Oh
who
yeah.
fucked with it so hard.
Oh yeah.
And Yeah, that's just been the story. So I would just have like little pockets to where I'd be like, oh, okay, if I want to rock out, I can go over here. And if I want to hang out skaters, I go over here. And if I want to do this thing, so it's just always been sort of this chameleon effect.
You mentioned clarinet, right? So is that like an instrument you just give everybody out? Because you're like the second person I know that just end up with clarinet or like is it viola or cello? One of those.
Hmm.
Second person I noticed that. So is that like a thing or am I just missing something out here?
Well, all right. So when you're playing sax, clarinets, and so okay, so the fingerings on a clarinet are the same or very similar to that of a saxophone, with
Oh,
the
okay.
exclusion of like you have to like do half whole coverings, which is fucking madness. Also the embouchure is very similar, so the mouthpieces, I don't have a mouthpiece here, but the mouthpieces are very similar. So clarinet's a good gateway instrument to the saxophone world if you're about that life. I'm not, because the other part is, um if you want to play saxophone, just fucking play saxophone. If a kid wants to play saxophone and you give the kid a clarinet, then years later, when the kid's like in their 30s and they're like, well, shit, I wish I would have stuck with music. You're like, well, why didn't you? Well, my teacher gave me a different instrument than I asked for.
Oh,
And I
okay.
didn't like it because my clarinet parts were always like flutters. Like, like a clarinet sound's usually going to be the butterfly or the light trills, unless you're bass clarinet, then you're like literally like dun dun dun
Oh
the
yeah.
whole time. Like I've never met a not weird ass bass clarinet. And that's a lot coming from me because I embrace the weirdos. But
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, so that's sort of like that's the thought process behind giving a kid a clarinet first. Is like
Hmm.
it's small, it's compact, it's easy, it's just pretty durable. There's not a lot of things you can break, but unless it's like New Orleans jazz style stuff, I don't really fuck with uh clarinet like that.
All right, since your instrument is saxophone and everything, were you driven to more sax-oriented music or brass-driven music? Like ska, maybe funk, or whatever. You know, where
Well,
brass is more in front.
well, okay, so when I learned about music, it was before all of the streaming. The access wasn't there. So how I learned about music was either through my peers or radio or like magazines. So like the sax that I listened as an adolescent, it was like fuck man, maybe Kenny G type stuff. Like that smooth jazz shit. But then I went to the Battle of the Bands. And so, because I'm from Atlanta, ordinarily that's where I spent most of my, my younger years. And when you go to the Battle of Bands, it is brass. It's like that just melt your face up, just that brass. And I really like that. And from there, started getting into like more jazz stuff. And one of the teachers that I had just really went out of his way to make sure that I knew that people like who look like me played saxophone and composed and wrote music and things like that. And that was important. And that was like for a semester because he got fired for sleeping in the band room. And that was the whole thing. But he was like really in my formal education because I got a music scholarship and everything for sax. Was one of the ones who made sure to let me know or to tell me like you can make the music you want to make on your horn, and here's some tools to do it, and here's some people who are doing it, and like listen to this song, listen to like sort of the sax, and this is sort of kind of the stuff you like, because I've always been into sweeping melodies. And yeah, other teachers and other people around always push me to more like hip hop because I'm black. And yeah, and you're just like, when I'm not playing saxophone, I'm playing like AFI on my bass, like that, like stupid bass lines and stuff like that. So,
Okay, my first solo project was a thing called Sketch Malchus, right? And
mhm.
I didn't have a drummer. I play everything else on there. Play guitar, bass, a little bit of key on there. I can't sing for
Hmm.
shit actually. I can barely do. I can kind of do the shouting vocal thing. I haven't done that in a while though. But the thing about it
You,
is,
you can you can split your you can like sort of like Chris Cornell, like where he splits his octaves and stuff like that.
no, more like a New York hardcore kind of thing, that kind of
Sweet.
thing.
Okay.
More like
Okay.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, you know. Um, so what happened was like when people found their music, they say, "So you do beats?" I'm like, "No, I don't do beats. I do instrumental rock."
Yes.
And people couldn't comprehend the idea. So I'm like,
What year was this?
this was like 2006, 2007, maybe like,
Yeah.
when did the
Yeah.
other Sketch Malcolm album come out? Like 2011, I think, too. So they come say, "So you do beats?" No, I do instrumental rock music. I mean, does anybody ask Nine Inch Nails that? Did anybody
Mm.
ask Godflesh that? Not that I actually know, but did they ask KMFDM that? No, I do I do like a little more akin to industrial, like the stuff I was doing back then. It sounded like Nine Inch Nails doing Speed with Three Six Mafia.
Okay. But that's good shit.
Oh yeah, but it's like people couldn't comprehend the idea that no, these aren't beats. They're instrumentals, but they're
Hmm.
not beats though.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. So, okay. That being said, so all right. So, growing as an artist and whatnot, so who do you say your influences are, and what you learn from them?
Influences, man. All right. So I would say Rick Rubin's a big one. Rick
Okay.
Rubin's a big one. For so many reasons. One of the reasons is this guy, like he was one of the pioneers of a whole genre.
Hmm.
So and he's like a tall Jewish dude,
Yeah.
and he's like making like not just making beats, but he's writing for so many different genres of music, and he's still like himself,
Oh yeah.
like through and through. So that's one of the people who is really inspirational to me, and I try to watch his interviews and things like that, but I also don't. I also just make sure to listen to the music he makes, because I never wanted like him to say something. I just really am
Yeah.
in awe of him. You know what I mean? Like
The Never
artists
Meet Your
have so
Heroes thing.
yeah, fuck that. Yeah, kill your heroes. Kill them all. And
That
like
was one
kill
of my
them all.
buds
Like
things. Kill your idols. I think that's like some slogan he's using with "Kill your idols." Had like a bunch of serial killers on there. I
yeah.
know some weird people. I'll put it that way.
No, it's no, I think it's uh absolutely necessary. I told my younger brother that you're here you should be your own hero. And at times when you're not your fucking hero, that's fine, but you never know. You never know the intricacies of someone's heart and the little mazes and stuff like that. So don't think you do through a screen or through an interview or through what they present. If you like the art, like the art. If you like what they do, like what they do. So yeah, absolutely. Just listening to him and seeing how he keeps pushing through.
Hmm.
I mentioned Flea a lot just because he plays, not only because he plays bass, but it's like he complements the music, and he makes like himself be known in the music,
Oh yeah.
but he doesn't over. I don't feel like he overpowers it, even when he's like slapping and going crazy. It goes really well. Anthony Kiedis' lyrics, on the other hand, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But
Oh yeah.
uh,
And then I gotta mention for California.
oh, so I read his book. So during this pandemic, I've just been like inhaling music biographies and memoirs. Actually gonna start. Yes, Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, like you feel horrible if you don't get that right. But I have that book downstairs. I've had it. As far as other influences go, I like Coltrane. He said something that always stuck with me, and it was pretty much just play what you know and play it well. And yeah, and just use that to create some interesting sentences and make a statement with that. So that, and also like, dude, I go to a lot of conference. Well, say a lot. I've been to some conferences. One of the things I always try to look at the positive side of things. One of the things that I will attribute positively to Houston is that because of uh, sort of the cultural void here, I've had to go outward. You know what I mean? And so with the low cost of living, you kind of have this DI, and you're like, all right, well, shit, I could go to the bar and get drunk enough to hang out with some of these people, or I could use it to go to a conference or go to a camp. I went to a jazz camp in Oakland, or it's actually in the Redwood Forest, but it was put on by Living Jazz. And dude, like you get there, like, so I pack up my horn, I pack up a suitcase. I'm going to be there for 8 days. I had not been camping at that point in a good 5 years, and I pack up a suitcase, pack up my horn, pack up a few, essentials, and I head to Oakland. I meet someone who I actually became really good friends with. I stayed at her house for a little bit, and we drove out to the Redwood Forest. And you get to a point there when you're going up this winding road, and they say, all right, make your last phone call. Like there's a sign, and it's like California Redwood. So it's like a very, like, I think someone had a calligraphy brush and probably like an angel sat on their shoulders, like, just write it. It's just beautiful. Make your last phone call. And then I just was like, I have no one to call. Okay. And so you get up there, and I just see that my phone is no longer respond. Like it has 0 bars. And that was the whole thing. So for 8 days, you had to literally climb a huge pole to get reception to make a phone call or anything. So I ended up calling my mom, I think on day 3 or 4, while I'm like, legs are wrapped around this pole, one arm here, talking, because that's, if you want to make a phone call, motherfucker, climb it. Otherwise, you need to be focused. And so what the camp was 8 days intensive, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. of music. So you could do workshops, and you could do everything from your specific instrument to songwriting to engineering to like drums. Everybody was there. The drums showed up, guitarists, trumps, the woodwinds, brass, dancers were there. Like it was insane. And you could go to, and vocalists, like you can go to other workshops. And it was all in the Redwood Forest. It's all in the woods. There were 8 grand pianos. No, there were 8 just Yamaha uprights in the woods. So you're walking in the woods through a path that opens to a jam area with like there's a rolling keyboard. I was intimidated to play it because like I love that keyboard. And so I'm like, ooh, taxi. And so you're sitting there, there's like a drum set, the keys are there, like you have like bongos and stuff, everybody's chiefing, and it's just like a good time for 8 days. So like think of like that's like concentrated just inspiration. And so when you say my inspirations, that whole experience was an inspiration. The fact that I saw everyone there from like the age of 16 to 85, like folks who couldn't even walk up the hills, so they got a ride. So some people had their cars and stuff because they were older or they're impaired in some way, and you could just hop on a truck. For me, I'm carrying this like 30-pound saxophone from one part of the forest to the other. Around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm a little tired, and I'm walking. A truck goes by. Hey, you want to ride? Yeah, I'm going to the yurt to to work on mindfulness while creating music. Yeah, hop in. We're passing there. And it's like, cool. And like for 8 days, it was just like this music sanctuary. And I seek those type of things out as an inspiration. So it's sort of like all of it's inspiration. It's inspirational to see like the person who always wanted to create music, but followed the blueprint. It's sort of took the pill. But as we know, not all pills work for everybody. So some of that you can suppress yourself enough to make it to 80 till you drop dead. But some people, it's like, shit, man, I have this in me. I got to get it out. And like that person would show up. And like the first, let's say day 1, when we go around and say like, why are you here? And if you don't want to say why are you here, just say a fact. If you don't want to say a fact, just say something nice, whatever. And she would start talking about her family and her kids. And somebody would stop her and be like, hey, like, no offense, but you're here. Like, who are you? Silence. By the end of that camp, she's like writing songs. She's like tapping into herself. So like things like that are inspirational to me because that keeps me going. Because if she's there and she has all these like obligations and shit, and I all I need to do is just get my ass up and perfect my craft, then those type of things keep me going. So
All right. So when was this, by the way?
hmm?
So this retreat? When was this?
Oh, this one happened 2 years ago. So 2018. I want to say in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I had the DIY musicians conference last year in Austin, and that was just a conference for independent musicians. All these plugs, but but as a conference for independent musicians, set up in Houston, and you just learn like the business side, the creative side, and then in both of these environments, all night long you jam out. You just walk around with your instrument, jam out. And for me, if I like some nights I didn't feel like playing my sax, so you just walk around like, yo, can I hop on your bass? I can put 4/4 on the floor real quick. Like, so it's just sort of like being in these like utopias for me, these artistic havens. So that's my inspiration. And then like I have that, then I'll come back to Houston, and it's just sort of like I'll be good for a couple more months.
Okay. All right. Wait. I remember a while back you said you said you played bass, right?
Yeah.
How long have you been playing bass?
Shit. Let me do the math. 16, 3 times past November, April, June, and September. Uh, like about 15, 16 years, dude. Like, that was for my 16th birthday. Like, I didn't want, I didn't really want to party or anything because my best friend, who I just went to go see in California, he and I just went to get crab legs for my 16th. And my mom was like, "What do you want to do for your birthday? You want a sweet 16 party?" I'm like, "No, I want a bass."
All right. Yeah, because I wonder how long you've been playing both sax and bass, and do you play anything else?
Yeah, sure. So I have let me see if you can see it. There's a keyboard right there.
Nice.
I got keys. I got guitars right here, and I have an acoustic when I want to do some pretty stuff. If you see it over here.
Yeah.
So all self-taught. With my sax, I didn't know that folks had. I didn't know what private lessons were. So when I got to undergrad, when I got to college on a musician scholarship, I didn't know about theory. I like when I tell you I didn't know about theory, I didn't know about theory like my dog doesn't know about taxes.
Oh.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I was like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Like, what is this? I didn't know about theory. I can read anything, but I didn't really know that technical side of it. So that was a struggle, and like learning how to play piano and just how they approached education to me was a disgrace. So after like I actually dropped my music major and lost that scholarship sophomore year. And yeah, and then just like I picked up a rugby scholarship though. And not rugby, I picked up a sports management, but I was playing rugby and things like that. But yeah, and I just like started really diving into more of like radio broadcasting. I hosted a radio show for a while in college. I met with my good friends. We hosted a radio show together. Just talked about everything. So that was really cool. But yeah, so everything else was like Flea taught me how to play like just a lot of stuff on bass because I would just watch him and see what he was doing. So my style is just like that. Like even when he slaps, like that's I would just be like with my VHS, like pause. Bring, bring. And then this is back in the day before I guess, cell phones and all that. We had a music store in the shopping plaza that my mom went grocery shopping at. So before I got my bass, about the age of let's see, I was playing sax at that point. About the age of 14 to 15, I would say, hey, when you go to Cub Foods, that was a grocery store name. Can I go to Mars? The music store's name was Mars. And she was like, yeah. And so then it became, hey, you're going to these other stores too. Can you just leave me here? And then come get me when you're done with the errands. And so then I'm hanging out at the music store with all the musicians. And like they know me. And then and they're like, well, this is how you tune an instrument. And I used to skip school in high school. But when I skipped class, I wasn't like I was always straight edge. Like I would write X's on my hands and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Same
And super
here.
straight.
Yeah.
Like
From
it
DC,
was
that's
just
where it
easier.
started.
Man.
Like I was saying, remember like Dare back in the day?
Yeah.
I would literally write, no thanks, I'm straight edge. I would literally write that I was like in 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, Students Against Destructive Decisions. I was a part of that. But the acronym was SAD.
Yeah.
And like
have you seen that one meme with like the Dare lion?
No.
And it said, well, done failed this nigga right here.
I'm about to Google it right now.
So, like no, but it's like I never.
Oh man.
It's like, yeah. Actually, the funny thing about it is I actually failed Dare.
You feel it?
Yeah, no, I failed it.
Oh.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure why though. It was either 2 reasons why. It was either because I didn't show up there or because I brought my dad's crack pipe. I'm kidding. My dad's never done any drugs. I think drugs make it normal.
No. Well, so I'm here solo dolo. I'm in Houston by myself. Yeah, and so for me, when this all was happening, I made a plan with myself just so I wouldn't go like batshit crazy, stir crazy in the house with my dog. And I just told myself, we're going to take this as a message from the universe to create more and to just really dive in. So I've gotten really into graphic design. So it's one of the reasons I was like, hey, let me try, is because I was like, well, I've been learning and taking classes with that. And just as I've been reading more of the memoirs and biographies, just really having the space and time to think about what I want to do and how I want to do it. It's been really good for me. I've been doing a lot more paintings and I've been finishing them quicker. The other part of it is I have more energy because I'm not going into the office and I'm working like part-time hours now. So, or what would work for myself. So I make my own hours, and going into the office for 8 hours really is unnecessary for me because part of that's just me like not trying to slap a motherfucker or something like that. So it's been good for me. I've had more creative energy, just more space and time to do things. But I do miss collaborating. So hearing from you has been a really good thing, and just changing how I guess approach being a creative person in Houston, because the community is just not, is more than just kind of not here, but there's also just there's nothing to do to go out and get inspired or pull inspiration. So say all that to say I'm more air quote productive, but it's very it lives in this apartment. It lives here.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, have you been active in the music scene if there is one in Houston?
Well, when I first got here, I joined the Houston Civic Symphony playing alto sax, and then I was part of the Pride band here playing tenor, and it was cool. It was cool. I haven't met people here who like read music, so it's just kind of like, or who don't want to do covers, who want to create original stuff. So you know, I was a part of those things, but even the music they were playing, like, it's like, dude, I played Go-Go Symphony. Like, I played in Go-Go Symphony. Like, we played like the National Lawn. We opened for Trouble Funk at 930 Club.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've been in bands. You know, I did a lot of this stuff with Flash Band for a while, and then from there, that would always spiral into other things. So coming from like a place like DC where you can throw a rock and find somebody to do music with, do something creative with,
Oh yeah.
and then coming here and just not having that, and when you do have it, like, I mean, the the music they were selecting for these symphonies just was like the reason people don't fuck with classical. I'll say that. It was just
Yeah.
what are we doing? So I hosted a jam session at my apartment for a while, for a couple months. But and that was cool, but again, they just wanted to do covers and not even like deviate from the cover. It was like, well no, like, no, that's not how that goes. And I'm like, no, it's totally fine. Like, I'm sure, like, what were we playing? Bob Seger, Turn the Page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, well, maybe we can like add some fuzz to it. Maybe we can, like, you know, fucking change it a little. Hell no. So, but that just made me kind of just do my own thing more.
How'd you get into Go-Go Symphony though?
So with Go-Go Symphony, the Go-Go Symphony story is really interesting and cool because she wrote this symphony as a tribute to her mother, who was a very, very good violinist, and who actually, Lisa Figueroa, shout outs, is also a phenomenal violin player as well. So she wrote the symphony, and she didn't have a band to play it. So she put out a Craigslist ad and said, hey, could anyone volunteer to play this song? She gave the backstory. She said, unfortunately, I don't have money to pay you, but I just would really like to hear this played by a band. So she put the audition out to play, and I was actually in the parking lot of Giant in Alexandria, Virginia. That's where I was living, and I was headed to that audition. I had auditioned that morning for another group that I actually got into, and we became good friends. But I was headed to the Go-Go Symphony audition. My mom called me, of course, and I'm in the parking lot. And I'm like, she's like, yeah, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm eating dinner because I went to the deli just to grab some food. And I'm like, I'm eating dinner. She's like, oh, okay, cool. You know, in the parking lot, why? Because I'm headed to an audition. And she's like, what are you auditioning for? And before I moved to DC, I lived in Orlando. And in Orlando, I was introduced to, first of all, like Afro-Latino culture, like Dominicans and stuff. I didn't know about that shit. Like, I'm from like suburbs of Marietta, or, you know, Marietta, Georgia. Like, you got like black, white, and not a lot of others. And like, you did have other stuff, but you know, Atlanta's so damn pro-black that it's just kind of like, that's a whole nother topic. So then I'm in the parking lot. So I know about calypso music, right? I know about soca. I know these things. I've just learned musical genres, like living in Orlando for a little bit, which was really cool that in life you can still learn about different music. You know, like you could still learn about whole different genres that you've never fucking heard of. And it's the same 7 notes. It's the same 7 notes everywhere. So that's so cool to me. That's one of the beauties of life. And so I'm in a parking lot. Mom's like, well, have you heard go-go before? Like, do you know what go-go is? I'm like, yeah, it's like calypso, right? She's like, no,
No.
it's not.
No. I know what you're talking about. There's like a totally different kind of go-go out in Jamaica. It's totally different. Like I heard of it. I'm like, they don't even call it that here because it's a mistranslation here. It's like a different kind of style. But it's like, no, that's not the totally different meaning in Jamaica as it is here.
Yeah. Like, so she's saying, she's like, when's your audition? I said, in 45 minutes. I'm gonna drive over because I'm on time for music stuff. Like, typically I'm on time for music, not much anything else. So, and I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out. I was like, go-go. And I'm like on the phone. I'm like, there's a lot of go-go stuff. She did Chuck Brown. Listen to Chuck Brown. That's go-go. And so I'm listening to Chuck Brown, and I call her back. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to this audition. And she's like,
It's listen, when it comes to go-go, it's a very acquired taste. Like I put it this way: the words go-go and songwriting aren't exactly exclusive to each other
right,
at
right,
all. It's one of those things where it's one of those. I put it this way: unless you're from Chicago, I guess you're not going to find mumble sauce anywhere else.
right, right,
It's just
right,
one of
right.
those things, you know.
But that's the beauty of life, though. So when you leave your bubble, when you are traveled, you know these things, and no, so the audition pieces that I had was I transposed Adele Rolling in the Deep, and I thought I was doing something with the solo, and then I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to go in there with Adele. And then I had Adele, and I think I had like more of a classical piece because it said Go-Go Symphony. And so like I had Adele and I put it to a interesting beat. And so then in my audition, I just apologized. I was like, hey guys, I'm playing these pieces to show my proficiency and my technical know-how, but I'm open to, because I was like, where the hell does the saxophone fit in this? I don't even hear horns. Like, and so I played for like 15, 20 minutes, not even 20, like maybe 15. And then they're like, you got it. And I didn't even hear her say you got it. I just played, and then I started my ritual of thank you for having me and start packing up. And then when she said you got it, I was just like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, you're in the band. When can you practice? And what do you need? Like, we don't have payment right now, but we do cover like parking or something like that. And I was like, the fuck, I'm in the band. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do from here because I haven't been okay. I'm in it. All right. So after that, we were rehearsing in her basement, dude, like shoulder to shoulder. Like I'm just sitting there by next to a dude, and then there's a chick behind me, like with her knees almost in my shoulder because we're on the steps. And like that's how we rehearsed for the first month or so. Like and then just it just kind of took off. Like we got invited to play DuPont Circle, and we got rained out, and like it was like save the horns and all this. So that's kind of how that started. Like it was really on some, yo, you want the DC experience? Boom. And because I've always loved DC. Like I have family there. It's like my heart. I'm a proctor. That's my other name. And
Oh,
so like
so
yeah.
like a Taps got a Newman like those. Let me
Well,
tell you right
Maryland
now.
proctored. Yeah.
Here's the thing about it, but let me explain right now. That is so to the area. Like seriously, go-go is as what's the word I'm looking for? Is as I want to say germane, but that's not the word I'm looking for. It
Take your
is.
time. Look.
It's something like that to the area. It's so native. Okay, I'll just say native. Let me tell you right now. Go-go is as native to the area as the Tapscots, Proctors, and the Newmans.
Beautiful. Yeah.
That's exactly how native as it is. So it's one
Yeah.
of those kind of things, you know.
Yeah. And I learned about that there. So imagine like going to a place that you were always drawn to, going to a place you're always drawn to, getting your whole life with the culture. Because like for me, how I live, when I go to a place, I want to become part of it. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And I want to like be part of it. And so I learned about go-go first. I read a book, and it
The
was
beat.
something. Nah, it had a little boy on the cover. Let me see, go-go.
Hmm.
But they did a really good job of telling the history of why why go-go is so impactful and important, not just for DC. It's called Go-Go Live.
Oh okay.
Have you heard of that one?
I might have.
By Natalie Hopkins. So it's like it drew the parallels between go-go music and punk. So like
Oh yeah.
how like the guitarists and shit from Fugazi
Yeah.
would be
Ian MacKaye
playing. Yeah.
and Henry
And so like
Rollins. Yeah.
right, yes, and because I always like Henry Rollins.
Oh yeah.
Now I understand why. So like it was so dope to me that this music, like Imagine going to a place that you were always drawn to, knowing that your last name has clout. The fuck? Because you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially coming from Austin, where there were times in Austin, Texas, when I lived there, where I asked people, "Can you see me? Like, can you like existential crisis type shit?" Because
Yeah.
I felt that invisible. And then going to DC, where it's like, "Oh, you're a proctor? Oh, that's cool. Let me see if we can." And then learning about this music that you've never heard of that has such cultural significance to the fact that they created police forces to stop music.
Yeah.
To stop fucking music.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, well, facts. The fact that was like, as an AT-alien, that was like the crunk music.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and shoot, Lil Jon, don't forget on Crunk Juice, he had a DJ Flex on there.
Oh, you are right.
So Lil Jon is very aware.
Correct.
In fact, Lil Jon actually, it was a kind of a thing. It was a cultural exchange between Baltimore Club and the crunk thing.
Yes.
Like, they would sample like Lil Jon, what? That kind of thing on tracks.
Yeah.
And he produced that song Shots for, was it LMFAO or something like that?
Yeah.
And that was a total Baltimore Club rip. So it was one of those, well played, nigga, well played.
Well, shit, Kilo Ali. So talk about Baltimore house music, being someone in Atlanta. So, it was a lot of hip hop stuff in Atlanta, but it was also a lot of cool rock stuff. There's a lot of cool rock going on in Atlanta too. And when we talk about that, you can't not mention Baltimore. You can't not mention Detroit for like their influences. So like it was all in that. And so the cool thing about that crunk movement was that's when I started going out to the club when I was 17. And of course, I'm sitting here like I'm still X's on my head. I'm like, yo, like I'm going out. I'm still wearing my Jinkos, but I'm in the hip hop spots. And so like, but we moshing still. We're still moshing. It's like, get some crunk in your system, and then you just run around.
Yeah, because that was Lil Jon's idea. He tried to bring the punk rock energy, like the '70s punk rock energy, to a more surprisingly conservative traditional rap scene that was kind of building it into which direction to go into. Like there's pictures of Lil Jon with a Bad Brain shirt, and he legitimately likes the band. In fact, I always thought, there's a picture of HR, right, when they had the locks and everything. And he kind of looked like Lil Jon a little bit. Could be like Lil Jon's dad or something.
Yeah. But when you listen to Lil Jon in the interviews, he mentions all of that. So around that time, this is about the time I fancied myself a sound engineer. So like the compromise was I get my degree, but my mom, shout out to mom, would literally drop me off at these studios. Stankonia. I was in the studio with Yang Yang Twins, all these fools. They all were rockers. So all of a sudden, I'm around my peoples because I'm not going to ever not be me. And like, I play saxophone and stuff. That's because by myself, I'm not about to sit here. I have and I do, but by myself, I like to play my horn. So that's what comes out. So like, that's just like sort of me. But yeah, going back to just my mind being blown by learning about go-go and punk, and then learning about like just the cultural significance of it all, and just loved it. Like, and then so I had to read up on it because for me, I'm still a 13-year-old where I'm like, don't be a poser. Don't be a poser.
Yeah, same. I'm same here when I was that age too. Like anything that I got into, I would study it, be aware of the history of it, and be willing to learn.
Yeah. And knowing that you were noobs. So like you gotta learn the culture, you gotta learn this and that. So man, it opened up so much for me. It opened up a lot. Just hanging out with Trouble Funk, hanging out with Belladonna and shit like that. Like, man, like those are some good times. And one of the lines is, if you focus on the past, your ass will be a has-been. But I had some really, really incredible times thanks to not only just go-go music, but just being open to, just like fucking shit up and just like looking for that energy in music. So, okay.
So what's your gear setup?
Oh, my gear setup pick the instrument for what?
Any and all.
All right, let me see. All right. So I've been in the process of getting a new mouthpiece. Right now, I'm playing a jazz model JDX5 Eugene Russo plastic mouthpiece. So that's pretty legit. For my reeds, I fucks with Van Doren ZZ16s. I recently went down to a 2.5 inch, and I thought I was embarrassed about that because I always thought, the better you play, the better you are, the harder you read. But I'm getting a way more flexible sound now, and I also have a Van uh, ligature. My horn is a Yamaha. Which one am I playing these days? It's the P25, the P16. That's the tenor one. That's pretty much that. I have a Taka Mini acoustic electric. That's pretty legit. It's pretty responsive. I still have my Fender bass, my Fender electric, uh, Casio Prevera keyboard. Just quality stuff set up. Using a Focusrite interface right now, just some slight. So yeah, just everything I have is efficient, manageable, and works for right now, and is getting me the sounds that I need, and is allowing me to do the job. I always try to have the art finance itself is my rule. So I will spend the money and I will spend the time to get excellent gear, but I never want to be a hoarder. I'm low key minimalist. So I'm all about like quality, efficiency, and making sure that I'm not trying to buy my way into any sounds or anything like that, if that makes sense. So that's sort of where I am right now. So I keep up with everything, but I'm not that huge of a gearhead yet, just because I'm still making sure I know all my shit. Like I just bought a drawing tablet, so now like for my Photoshop stuff. So when you're spread this thin and you have this many artistic endeavors, you got to make sure that you're being smart about it, and you're being smart about the money you spend, and making sure you can play everything, making sure you can use everything. Because what's the point of having this dope ass keyboard, or spending money on a dope ass guitar that you can't play, or you don't want to play because it doesn't feel right? So that's where I'm at with that.
I know you under another name, and I'm not going to mention it publicly, but how did Ori Soaring come about, though?
Yeah. So well, I was Blue Fox in college. So when I was a DJ in college, my name was Blue Fox, DJ Blue Fox.
Okay.
And that came up from like middle school, high school. And so when I first moved to DC, I put away all my musical things. I said, I'm going to be a marketing exec by the time I'm 30, and I'm going to be, I want to be this. I was trying to, you know, break the wings, push them back, tie them down, and get in that box when I first moved. And so part of that was Blue Fox is no more. Like it was just like very dramatic and almost like trying to commit suicide. Listening to me say it,
Yeah.
and that shit didn't last at
No.
all. That's just not gonna last in DC. That's because it's you'll be even like when I was at work, I'd be at work with some cat who would bring in their instrument because they're in a band. And you know what I mean? Like so in DC I learned that you can do both. And I needed a new name, and I just told myself it'll come to me when it comes. And last year I got really into reading up on Yoruba and reading up on hoodoo and reading up on all these different things, learning about the Orishas and things like that. And part of it and just like really being drawn to all of that. And I really am. I just it's not like a conversation I lead with because I don't feel that spirituality is a personality. And then I went back and forth with, do I want one name? Do I want two names? And then one day Ori just hit. And I liked Ori because at first it was just Ori. It was just always Ori. And then I realized that was a Jewish guy's name. And so then I was like, well, I still like Ori. And so I thought I wanted it to be two names. But I don't know what. So then let it go for months. And that's kind of how I operate too. I'm big into like manifestation. I'm big and all these things. And part of it's sort of like forefront stuff. Like let's say I wanted to start a project. I'm not going to like break my neck to make it happen today. I'm just going to put it right here at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
Sort of like, you know what I mean? So like, sort of like me having a procedure for if I drop food, like what parameters will I pick it back up? I like thinking about stuff like that. I don't think about like pop culture shit. I think about, if you drop your cheeseburger, at what point do you leave it? Just leave the bottom bun? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I try to think about things like that.
Depends how much it bounced. Think about it that way. But even then, I still won't want to touch it though, because even then, there's still stuff that you might be able to see that's on there.
Yeah, so you gotta let it go.
Exactly.
A lot of it, you have to let go. Um, or I have a dog. One time I dropped something, she came out of nowhere, took it, and I just laughed. But this is when I first was living in DC, and I was like broke as hell, and I dropped a plate of food, and I thought I didn't know what she was. She ran out. She grabbed the chicken breast and scarfed it down like a shark. And that was all I had to eat. And I was just like, I guess I'll eat this mixed vegetables and tuna. Like, what the hell? So it's just sad. So yeah, so the name came up, and then soaring just came up. Soaring, like, it just popped. And I was like, Ori Soaring. And then I liked the way it sounded, and it's kind of hard to say. And I was like, Ori Soaring, is it one word or two? I was like, you'll change it up. I was like, okay, so I'll be like Pan Ori Soaring. Like, sometimes it's one word, sometimes it's two. And that's just where I'm at with it. Like, I saw like other people change their name all the time, and I just said, no, sometimes it's two words, sometimes it's one word. Either way is fine, but Ori Soaring just sounds good. And so the first time that someone called me Ori Soaring was at I was at a music workshop. No, I was at a writing workshop. So I shit on Houston for not having a music scene, but they have a phenomenal writing scene. And so yeah, so in this life, like, y'all, one of the women, she said, "Oh, so what's your name?" She's writing on it like a name tag. I said, "Oh," she said, "No, what's your name?" I was like, Ori Soaring. She said, "I knew it," and she wrote that, and like I was like, "Holy shit, this is awesome!" So like, that's sort of where the name came from. And Ori, in Yoruba, is sort of it points to sort of your this part, like, I guess I don't want to mess it up, but like just part of, like, it's like of God. So
Okay.
Ori is of God, and it's sort of right here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Somebody knows their chakras and
Oh,
all
yeah,
that
yeah,
jazz.
yeah.
I mean, I have a light spot in the middle of my forehead. I fell through a table when I was younger, and so that's what the Ori part of God. Because as a musician, as an artist, like, for me, I hear music in my head, and it's up to me to make it worldly. Like, it's up to me to figure out how to convey this shit. And I believe in God, but I believe in it in a like a it's all over type of thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's where, and in that culture, is the idea is that's how it comes in through you. So it's like it's Ori, and that's it. It's a tribute. It's a tribute, and it keeps me humble. So I'll never be one of those musicians who acts like it's a secret how I'm playing shit, like, like, or how I got here. So that's the names Ori, and then the soaring part is just about, it's about birds, John.
Okay, I can see that. Like, I can see that too. Um, this what's on your SoundCloud? It's called Demo Disc. So who's playing on there? Is that all you?
It's all me. Every single part is me.
Really?
Yes,
Well, shit.
everything. Yeah, and you know why it's called the demo disc? Can
I was
you
about to
like?
ask, what's the story behind the demo disc? I take it you experiment with different genres and different styles and just kind of figuring out stuff.
Yes, so it's a nod to, do you remember when you would get a demo disc with your system? So
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
PlayStation, you had like the jam pack. So it was between demo
Oh,
disc and jam pack. And you would get, the point of me calling it the demo disc for me is, first of all, that's what it is. It's like a demo of me, and part of me is a lot of different genres and sounds, and it's, yeah, it's all me. It's 100% me, because that's something I learned at Go-Go Symphony. If I own the shit, I don't have to compromise it. Like, you know what I mean? I could teach you how to play it, because maybe it took me 15 hours to write the song, and maybe I teared up a little bit because I was frustrated, because my the idea I have in my head was greater than maybe my
oh
technical
yeah,
ability.
oh yeah.
Now I have to pause the song and practice and learn. Then you know what I mean. But it's really cool for me. But I call it the demo disc. Like I said, it's a demo of everything, and it's also a demo. They're rough cuts. Like I did the best I could with the engineering and all of that. But at the end of the day, I can only be so much.
Oh yeah,
Like,
oh yeah.
you know what I mean? So that's why I call it the demo disc. And like my idea is, I chose the colors before Kanye, but like I just like it to be like real simplistic and clean, and just, you know, find what you're looking within the demo disc, and then know that I have a whole big ass like external hard drive full of way more songs. You know what I mean? So
Nice.
the demo disc.
Okay. All right. What are your thoughts on like venues shutting down and everything?
Man, that's rough. Like for me, like I travel a lot, of course, and I'm a city kid. I'm a country kid, like country girl at heart. I'll always be southern, but I love cities. And part of me going to new cities is going to these venues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and when they not just close but shut down, I feel like you know, grandmother Willow or some shit, like in Pocahontas, like
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
tree talked to her and helped gave her guidance.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how I feel about some of these venues. You're like, man, these
Yeah.
prolific bands played there, man, and like there's something about that ringing in your ear after you see
Yes.
the show,
Oh yeah.
you know, like because like you go outside and the whole world seems turned down, and you share this experience with people, and like for me, like I like you familiar with the band Cold?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I love fucking Cold. I've seen Cold in every city I've lived in multiple times. I've talked to them. I tell, you know, Scooter's the reason I write such honest lyrics, and I'm nervous about releasing them because they're very they're my lyrics are written as a human who is having a very honest conversation about very human things, and
Mhm.
so it's very vulnerable. And but going to those venues, because I rarely meet other Cold fans, but when I go to a show, dude,
They're there.
everyone knows. Yeah, everyone knows the songs, and it's all good vibes. And Cold's music is quite sad. Like Cold's music is just like especially 13 Ways to Bleed on Stage. Like the first one is just like fuck, man. But you go to these shows, and it's just camaraderie. It's just a community that's really a theme throughout a lot of my time. So
Oh yeah.
when I hear about them shutting down, it's just like it's sad for me, but it's also sort of like what's going to happen next, because that was so much part of the culture, that
Oh
was
yeah.
so much part of being for a lot of people. Like for me, like no matter what, I could always go to a show, and I could be around other uh, music lovers, like true music lovers, not
Oh yeah.
just show that we both went to, the Death show. The vibes there, I honestly think that was one of the happiest, like as far as a vibe goes,
Oh yeah.
been to. Like just love in the air, like mm, little love Like it
Oh yeah.
just so
Oh yeah.
we're now that they're shut down, where do we go? Like what happens now? Because not everything can be like this structured corporate. This is what fun feels like, and this is socializing. So what where do you go to see the music now? That's kind of the question. So I know we'll figure it out, but I wonder what it looks like.
Okay, what are some fond recollections of the DC music scene that you have?
Oh yeah, man, all of it. Okay, all of it. Like that was it was like my dream. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning, I said that I really average 5 to 6 hours of sleep, and that's very true. But when you are in your element, I find that sleep you can get rest and restoration in many ways in life. And for me, going to work from 8 to 6, whatever, because for a while I was a director of a music school, a boxer rock. And so I was doing that, and then I'd leave from work, and at this time, Roxy, shout out to Roxy, was a puppy, and I would come home, tend to feed her and take her out a little bit because I was still in my musicianship, and I'd head back out. So I'm out the door around 8, and I come back around 3, typically a little tipsy or something. I let the dog run around off leash in the neighborhood, silly, but I did it, and then rinse repeat for years. Um, and saying that, it's just the exposure to everything being so new and fun. That was the fun part for me, like learning, like just being in my element and being safe. Because the other part of it is I I couldn't really, and I really wouldn't and don't play CD clubs because I'm a mark. I'm a total mark. You know what I mean? So I can't put myself in situations to where I'm going to be in danger. So that meant I had to be very selective with the people I engaged with, and just so happens the people I engaged with were great people, and they were just very diverse. So like one day I'm playing I'm playing in a chamber setting, chamber music setting. I'm playing transpose bass clarinet parts. And then the other one I'm like subbing in on like a police funky like show. You know what I mean? So like it's just like being all over the place, going to Baltimore, and their stupid ass jazz scene was just their underground jazz scene was sick. Like the stuff they were doing. So like it's being exposed to all that, and that was the fun stuff. As far as recollections go, man, I hung out with a whole bunch of hip hop people who were also heavy rockers. Like one night we're chilling in Portishead. The other night we're jamming old school Cypress. We would drive up to Cyphers in Brooklyn, and then up there, because I was like the youngest one around, and I'm just like, well, I've never been busking. And they're like, what? And so then, like, just being around these people who just were pushing me to be better, you know what I mean? And like, for me, that was just phenomenal. Friends I had out there, even if they weren't musicians and stuff, they were so supportive and like putting you on. So it's like just like the networking of, oh, I know this person who could do this. And even if I show up and I don't really want to play with them, I can still fuck with it. And so those are fun recollections. I think recording my first song from start to finish and being with my friend Edgar Diaz, shout outs, and him just pretty much holding my hand through being a professional musician and showing me what that looks like. Showing me like we opened for Cody Chestnut at the Howard Theater, and showing me like just like I'm in a room and Cody Chestnut is right there. And I think to answer your question, it was me being in my element with other people as a collection. And another fun experience is being recognized, is being recognized as a musician. So when the first time I played like just by myself, like just in public, was I was playing at the Brooklyn Bridge, and my homie pushed me to do it. Like it's been kind of a theme. Like I'll do stuff. Like I'm pretty fearless, but sometimes you need that push. And so we were chilling, and it's a bunch of political activist types. So we're talking like Worker Families Party, like just very grassroots, like very liberal, progressive. That's their shit. Like they love politics. You know what I mean? Like they know who can get arrested at this protest because that type of shit. So it was that crew, and I'm just like, man, I just I want to do this. They're like, you should play. And then it was Christmas time. And so I just was like, all right, fuck it. Let's just go to the Brooklyn Bridge. And I didn't know shit about shit. I didn't know the significance of the Brooklyn Bridge. I knew it was a bridge in Brooklyn. And so it's pretty much like a lot of me in that time period was just me not knowing shit about shit and just going with the light, chasing that light. So I set up, I opened my cases I've seen other people do. And I knew a couple of songs. So I know a couple Christmas songs, and a lot of jazz songs can be interchanged, Christmassy. So I was playing a like a Rudolph the Red, something like that. And this couple was walking, and then they stopped and walked back to me and started playing right in front of me. Yes. And like not playing dancing, my bad. They started dancing right in front of me. And like slow, like I was part of their night. And to me that was like it always 6 hours monumental to me because it's like, man, I was part of their night. I was like, they stopped and came back and danced. Now, mind you, after Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer went off, like shout out to my DJ years because I was like, where do I go to next? I just played it again. I was just like, well, I think y'all like this vibe. And then I took a couple of long solos and all that. And afterwards, like, dude dropped $5 in there and just kind of like said, nodded, thank you. And I was just like, I just did that shit. Like, yeah.
Well, Ori, it's great catching up with you. Haven't seen you since 2015, but I'm glad to see you making strides and, following dreams and making them a reality. Glad to chat with you. Can't wait to hear from you again. Is there anything else out there you want us to check out?
No, just follow me on Instagram would be the best thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you have any, follow me on IG. I'm looking to do a mailing list pretty soon, and so the mailing list will have first listens.
Cool.
And I'll be posting more regularly from here on out. But yeah, just follow me on IG. That's Ori Soaring, the artist. On IG, Ori, Ori, Soaring, Soaring, the artist on IG. And feel free to say something, drop a line. I love interacting and chatting with people. It was awesome catching up with you as well, and I'm looking forward to trading tracks with you.
All right, can't wait. Look forward to it.
I'm ready.
Hey, great catching up with Ori. Check out our website, orisoaring.com. That's ORISOARING.com. And also Ori Soaring the Artist on IG. That's ORISOARING the Artist on IG. Thank you.